Oh, good morning. I wanted to extend my welcome also to those who are on live stream. Please know we feel your consciousness. We consider you a part of our congregation, and I hope you consider yourself a part of it as well. And for everyone who is new or newly returning that is here in the room with us today, I welcome you as well. I appreciate you. We all do. Please know that you are noticed, you are seen, you are felt, you are welcome, you are loved here. So we're entering the month of love. And of course, it's February, so it just makes sense, right? And love is not just a word we say here at New Vision Center. It's not even just something we value. It is a guiding principle. As Reverend Karen mentioned, this month we will celebrate our 30th year anniversary as a community. Compliments of y'all. And for the entire 30 years, love has been a key piece of our vision. For many, many years, our vision was love awakens hearts and transforms lives. And in the last few years, we have deepened that vision, kept a hold of that idea because it is still true, right? Love still awakens hearts and love is still transforming lives here at New Vision Center and everywhere globally. And now we have deepened it into revealing the power of love as we take that from something that has shifted us and allow us to walk it out into the world as a transformative community. So we're continually focused on love. Imagine my glee, and glee is the right word. I think I actually maybe hopped up and down and clapped. Does that feel right, Karen? When I heard that our book of the month for this particular month was going to be Marianne Williamson's A Return to Love. I did not buy a copy, or as Lorenzo would know, borrow a copy from the bookstore. This is my own personal copy. And if there is one book, I think we probably all have the one book, right? The one movie, the one conversation that transformed their own ability to understand their place and the role of spirituality and how that could change who they are. This is that book for me. And this is that original copy that I received in 1993 as a high school graduation gift. Don't do the math. As you can see, it has been loved a lot. I think that these might be dog bite marks. Lots of Post-it notes. I'm counting at least 4 colors of highlighter, underlines, and notes in the margin. What does this note say? Jesus didn't judge, he taught and forgave. You can follow my personal evolution through this book by looking at how bubbly the handwriting of the notes are. Because, 18, that's like bubble letters. And this. Dawn caught it. Like the eyes are dyed with little circles, and then it gets scribbly towards like last year during the end of ministerial school. Probably 20 times, maybe 200 times I have read this book cover to cover. And there's a reason. First of all, it's just a really good book. If you haven't read it, I really encourage you to read it. It's a very classic primer in New Thought consciousness and how to speak about it in a way that is grounded and real, with real-life stories that actually are connect-withable. Connect-withable? Sure, we're going with that. But another reason that I really encourage you to grab this book is because I'm a huge believer in when struggling, go back to the basics. If you're struggling with meditation, I encourage you to light a candle and stare at it for 10 minutes. Go back, the very first thing you ever did that worked. If you're struggling with prayer, I encourage you to sit with a practitioner in the prayer zone and be reminded of how that anchors you in. If you're having trouble believing that you're worth a prayer, I encourage you to pray that prayer for somebody else you know who needs what you're praying for, because it's easier, right? It's easier to believe it for somebody else, and then conveniently we can't pray for anything without anchoring into it ourselves. And this book, for me, is the basics. It is the bread and butter of why we are here. I struggled with it at the beginning, and you may be with me on this. I struggled with it in the beginning because it's based on A Course in Miracles, which is a beautiful book, I believe, that was brought forth in the 70s, that is very, very like Science of Mind, but it uses very traditional Christian languaging in a metaphorical sense. So they say Jesus and God and Holy Spirit. And at 18, I was like, oh, hell no. I just got rid of that. Right? I just had to, let my parents come to terms with I wasn't going to Catholic church anymore. And they had, backed off the cliff. And it was okay. And I just wasn't, why would I be going backwards? And then I realized it's all metaphorical, just like Ernest Holmes uses it in a metaphorical way, that the Christ consciousness is that place inside of us that is unitive consciousness, Buddha consciousness, wholeness consciousness, oneness consciousness. She uses the word God a lot, which at 18 was a real challenge for me because, again, I had, chucked all of that in the river and wandered away. And then she explains so beautifully in this book that when she says God, she means love. And that was the first time I'd encountered that idea. And to me, that right there, God is love. That right there. We could probably have that be the topic of every talk here for the next 35 years and continue to do deep, grounding, meaningful work, right? So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the very core basics of this book because we get to talk about it for a whole month. You might have noticed I signed up to talk for 3 of those 4 talks. Selfish. Comfortable with it. Know who you are, right? So Marianne breaks down functionally what I would consider all of New Thought teaching. All of it. She breaks it down into 3 thoughts. God is the love within us. Whether we choose to follow God, which means think with love, is up to us. And when we choose to love, life is wonderful. When we choose to turn away from love, pain sets in. That's it, right? If we could get really solid on those 3 things, we'd be golden. And yet simple doesn't mean easy. If only it did, right? If only it did. So God is the love within us. This was mind-blowing to me at 18 years old. That God was not some outside force that was going to do a thing because I begged and cried or made the right bargain. That God was not something out there making a list of things that I had done wrong or right to get the cookie or not get the cookie. Get the cookie is my term for anything that I would be, hoping to claim. Get the cookie. That there wasn't a list of things that I was going to be punished if I did or if I didn't do. That God was the love within us, and that's it. That's it. That when I feel loving, when I act loving, when I am loving, I am feeling God in me. And when I am not, I am not. I was waiting for, the fireworks in the meditation when God spoke to me. You know what I'm talking about? Waiting to feel transported to another galaxy to prove that I was deep enough to have earned this experience. And then I find out God is the love in me. And every time I am feeling kind, that's the sign. That's the sign that I'm in alignment with God. So she follows this up with the little gem of, okay, so God is the love inside of us, and only love is real. What? I'm in high school. There's a lot of not love in high school, right? You might remember. Only love is real. That's a tough one, isn't it? If you've turned on the news, if you've talked to extended family members, maybe just my family. Hi, Mom. I'm sure my mom is watching. If you have paid any attention to the way the majority of the world operates on a global scale, it is very difficult to believe that only love is real. right? Even though we've all read all the books that say it, even though we've taken all the classes where we've practiced it, it's hard. It's a challenge. And what this book helped me understand is that it's not a delusional pretending that you don't experience fear. Fear is the category of everything you experience when you're not aware of love, that the love doesn't go away. It's always there. And sometimes we're not tapped into it. Sometimes we just can't see it. Like, I have a waist. You can't see it right now because it's buried into this jacket, but it's still there, right? Yes, it is. It's not that we pretend that the experience of fear doesn't exist, because we all are in it sometimes. We all have those moments where we can't tap right directly into that feeling of absolute love and absolute oneness. The experience of fear happens, but it isn't real in that it isn't its own entity. It doesn't have power. It's not a thing. It's an absence of awareness of something else. We label it because we experience it, but fear doesn't come trucking in. You get bad news, and it's not like fear's like, oh, I'm going to Rick's house. Ta-da, I'm here, Rick, I'm fear. No, what happens is something happens. We get jolted out of our awareness of truth, and we turn away from the experience of love. And in the turning away from that, we experience what it's like to not be in that flow. And that's what we call fear. It's very much like darkness is not a thing, right? You can't turn on the darkness. There are not darkness bulbs. You can't order up the darkness. Someone turn on my darkness. You have to turn off light to experience darkness. There is light and there is an absence of light, which we call darkness. That's the way fear is. So if God is in love, is the love within us, only love is real. And fear is the experience we have when we forget to tap into the love that is real. This makes it easy on us because it has its own contained answer. It has its own contained solution. If we're experiencing fear, job loss, death in the family, broken relationship, goal falling through, some kind of failure, anxiety, panic, if we're experiencing that, what we don't have to do is fix the fear, because the fear is not a thing. There are a million ways to chase after fixing the fear, to hustle, right? Get a better job, get another degree, find another man, da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da. Take another class, read another book. Read my book. That's different. I'm kidding. I keep saying I'm going to write a book saying you do not need to read this book. It won't sell well. Love drives out fear, like the light drives out the darkness. So instead of chasing the solution to fear, what do we lean into? And that means it's the same answer every time. We don't have to learn 100,000 answers. We learn one answer. We lean into love in whatever way we can. And that pushes away the fear of every kind of experience we can be having. Love feels right and good. We know we're doing love. It feels right and good because it's the truth of who we are. I don't care what religion you practice. I don't care what traditions you prefer. When you are feeling loving, it feels good. And when you are not, it doesn't. Straight up. Simplest thing in the world. Here's where it gets tricksy. That darn free will. Whether we choose to follow God, or if we want to put it in new thought terms, if we choose to think with love, pursue life with love, it's entirely up to us. It's entirely up to us. We are always at choice. Yay! So the hard part about always being at choice is that we got to actually do it. Right? We have to actually get up in the morning and feel the fear and go, That's just me too, right? Have that moment of, oh my gosh, I forgot about the thing. I'm worried about the thing. And then say, no, 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 no. I refuse to be afraid. I can never be separated from God because it's the only thing that's real. And here I am having this thought, so I have to be it, just logically. I can never be separated from love. That is the only truth. I choose to live my life today from that perspective only. I refuse to be hypnotized into the way the world at large looks at life. And I refuse to fall prey to the arguments of, yeah, but what about serial killers? Yeah, but what about the UN falling apart? Yeah, but what about climate change? Yeah, those things are experiences. And there is a lot of fear around things that are happening in the world. And we get to decide, are we going to deal with those experiences from a perspective of, I'm really the only one that makes that sound, right? Gosh, I hope so. It's not a good sound. Am I going to experience it all from this place of, I have no power, I have no hope, there's nothing I can do, I'm a little tiny person with absolutely no resources, and there's so many of these other people, and it's all bad forever? Or am I going to choose to experience it all from the place of, you know what? I am one person, made of God's stuff, made of love, one, that is connected to every single other consciousness in the entirety of humanity, because what it is, right? If there's only God, there's only one, we're in it, so's everybody else. And I'm going to choose to keep turning back into, how can I be more loving? How can I choose to not assume the worst of the person in front of me? How can I choose to decide that this person who believes differently than I do about fill-in-the-blank situation, that they're coming from love too in their own way? How can I choose to not care if I'm right? If we want a different experience, and I don't know about y'all, but there are times that I want a different experience. If we want a different experience, we have to be willing to surrender our old ways of thinking, our old ways of believing, our old ways of judging, our old ways of saying, but I'm right. I read an article. They said it on NPR. And we need to stop sending those articles to our friends that disagree with us. They have their own articles. You probably don't want to get them, so we have to surrender our old way of thinking. We have to be willing to look right in the face of something that looks like a physical manifestation of fear and pain and anger and hatred. Look right at it and say, I see you, I get it, and I know a bigger truth. I know a truer truth. And that's the way I choose to live. And here's the deal. What if I'm wrong? What if this is all crap? Truly. I'm for sure the only one in this room that's ever gotten up at 3 a.m. and thought, oh my God, what if this is all just fake and I'm just part of a crazy cult that just wants to believe good things and none of this is even true and there is no God and there is no love, right? Just me. It's okay. You can mock me. What if none of it's true? And this is where I'm at. I don't care. I don't care. This life feels good. This life feels good. If at the end of all of this time we just die and we're just dead and there was none of it and we all just got together to have feel-good meetings that don't mean anything and hug a lot and sing good songs, fine. We'll be dead. We won't know. There's a certain amount of just faith that has to come into it. Life is uncertainty. Life is uncertainty. But we get to decide which version we're going to walk out. And I choose to walk out love to the very best of my ability. And when I find myself in fear and unkindness, I do my darndest to get back in alignment because it feels good because it's the truth of who we are. It's nicer. It's more pleasant. It feels better in the body. It feels better in our relationships. So the third point she brings up is when we choose to love, life is wonderful. When we turn away from love, pain sets in. And this is why I don't care if the premise is accurate. I don't care. Because that is true. When we choose to love, life is wonderful. When we turn away from it, pain sets in. Fear sets in. Relationships fall apart. We feel badly about ourselves when we act from an unloving place. It's not good. It's not good. Marianne asks from A Course in Miracles, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? That question changed my life because, as you may know, if you know me at all well, I really like to be right. My husband's nodding in the front row. I really do like to be right. And even more than that, I hate to be wrong. And being right doesn't actually make my life better. It doesn't. It's joyful for like 14 seconds. It's a good 14 seconds, but it damages relationships at times. Have you ever been in a situation where you were right and you pushed it and you're just right? I'm right. And you know at the end of that conversation, I won this argument and I wrecked this relationship. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. So I want to conclude this beautiful talk with a story that's very much in the news right now. And it has one of my favorite people, Patton Oswalt. If you don't know this wonderful semi-troll looking dude, his words. He is a comedian and an actor, and his name is Patton Oswalt, and he has been in everything you ever watched. He's like the consummate character actor. He's everywhere. He's hilarious, and he's brilliant. And whatever movie or TV show you enjoyed him in, most people that I know that talk about him don't talk about that anymore. They talk about the amazing way he shared his experience publicly when his beloved, beloved wife died very suddenly of a brain aneurysm a couple of years ago. And she was a phenomenal woman, and he adored her. Like the way we would always love to be adored. Like he adored her. He was super public about it all the time. She's beautiful and wonderful, and they had this little girl, and they had the most amazing, perfect life. And then she died. No warning. Gone. And he was really generous with sharing the experience of raising their little daughter, Alice, together. And then all of a sudden, it's just him. And she was this super nurturing woman. And now it's just him. And how does he do this? And for the better part of 2 years, he very publicly blogged and wrote articles about the experience of being a comedian going through absolute abject horror and then having to get up and make lunch for the little girl. He's doing better now. He met a woman. This isn't actually part of my story, but I'm going to throw it in because it makes me really happy. So he's my age, to within a couple months. And when Patton and I, because we're buds, when we were in high school, there was this super cute actress named Meredith Salinger, who was like the cute girl in all the teen movies and all the Corey Haim, Corey Feldman movies. Super adorable. He married her. That guy. Met and married her. They are newlyweds now. They met. She read his writings. She just fell in love with him. They're married now. So, holy rabbit, right? He's the first one to say it. He's like this tall. He's just, I just love him. Hope for the rest of us, right? So this past week, he's very active on Twitter. This past week, he was, being a comedian, which often means messing with people online. And he tweeted something about our president that was not complimentary, but kind of funny. I mean, like, objectively kind of funny. It was funny. And a gentleman named Michael Beatty did not agree, did not appreciate it, and shared thoughts like Twitter. Now I remember why I'm glad you died in Blade Trinity 3. And, right? That's funny. And the lobs got more and more personal and nastier until it wasn't funny anymore. And Patton's fans, which are legion, decided that they were going to start chiming in, and it turned into one of those things that isn't cute. And then Patton posted this. Oh man, this dude just attacked me on Twitter, and I joked back, but then I looked at his timeline, and he's in a lot of trouble health-wise. I'd be pissed off too. He's been dealt some not nice cards. Let's deal him some good ones. Click and donate on his GoFundMe, just like I'm about to. Then he went on the GoFundMe page and donated $2,000. Followers and fans did the same to the tune of $47,000 that day. This is a person who'd had multiple failed surgeries and was facing lifetime dialysis and really, really needed the money. Michael Beatty responded later that day with, Patton, you've humbled me to the point where I can barely compose my words. You've caused me to pause and reflect on how harmful words from my mouth could result in such an outpouring. Thank you for this. I will pass the excess on to my cousin who needs help. A cascade. I want to thank everyone who came to my aid with generous outpourings, and also to Patton Oswalt, without whom I would not be the recipient of so much love and support. I'm not a man who ever cries, but I had to wait to send this because he couldn't stop crying. Patton responded with, see, this is why compassion and forgiveness are always the best. We don't have to go to the UN. We don't have to change world conditions. At every moment, no matter what's unfolding, we have the opportunity to say, whoa, 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 what's really going on here? And redirect from a place of love. And change somebody's life. Potentially save somebody's life. And all it took was a shift in perception and the decision to do so. That's it. For anybody out there who is feeling like, this is wonderful, but A Course in Miracles is not religious science. I know you're out there. I hear it sometimes. I'm going to say yes and no. I hear you. And Ernest Holmes had this to say. Let's see if you can find some parallels. First of all, you must have a firm conviction that God is love, and an equally firm conviction that when you apply this principle of love to any human problem, the very words you speak in your meditation or treatment or prayer will operate as law in the condition that confronts you and will neutralize or overcome everything that opposes it. God is the love inside of us. Whether we choose to think with love is up to us. When we do it, life is good. When we don't, life doesn't work. Let's live through love. And so it is. Thank you. I'd like to invite the ministers in service, the practitioners and practitioners in training to rise up and join me in taking a stand for love right here, right now. What I know is that the love that is the truth, the spirit that is the truth, the wholeness that is the truth of every beloved within the sound of my voice is activated powerfully right here, right now, lifting us up to a new level of perception, a new ability to see through, past, and beyond anything that appears to be holding us back, to see any fear, any harm, any injury, any doubt as simply an invitation to love more and to invite more love in. What I know is that we are all sourced and supplied, upheld and inspired by that indwelling sweet voice that is the indwelling God, the indwelling Spirit, right where we are, all the time, no matter what. It is our health, it is our abundance, It is our joy. It is our peace. And we can be a yes for it. I am a yes for it. I am a yes for it in my life. I am a yes for it in the life of every person. I am a yes for it in the life of this community. And as we walk it out through the spiritual awakening, through our outreach programs, through the work we do with our youth, through the way we talk to people at the grocery store, through everything, we invite more people, more beings, more energy into the place where goodness reigns, where we trust the intentions of people around us to be good, where we believe in the heart of humanity. That's the world I choose to live in. That's the place we choose to take this congregation. That's who we are as New Vision Center. It's who we will always be as New Vision Center. I'm just so thankful for it, and I call it very, very good. And so it is.